Okay, so everybody's got a triangle angle investigation. Fold it in half. So what the goal of this activity is to illustrate why all triangles make up the sum of all the angles in a triangle make up 180 degrees. Okay, raise your hand if you've ever done anything like this before. 3 or 4 of you. Okay, good. So this is going to be new for some of you. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on this. At the top it says classify each triangle 2 ways. By its angle, you can have an acute, a right, or obtuse. And by its sides, you can have an equilateral. Somebody tell me what equilateral means? Harley, what's equilateral? Somebody raise their hand if they know what equilateral means. What's an equilateral triangle? This was in your notes last night. Okay, Eric. Triangle with 3 sides are all the same and 3 angles are all the same, right? Okay, because if the sides are the same, the angles are the same. Doesn't mean that if a side is 3 inches, the angle's 3 inches. That's not how we measure angles. It just means that if the sides are same, angles are the same. What's another word for the same that we use that you've learned? Okay, Danielle. Congruent. That's what we're going to use. Isosceles. Think of your eyes. How many eyes do most of you have? 2. That means so. Isosceles. What does that mean about a triangle? Raise your hand if you know. Keegan. 2 congruent sides, which also means it has 2 congruent what? Angles. Okay, and then scalene. Miss Hernandez, I like her explanation. She says, every time I get on a scale, I never weigh the same thing. It's always different. So what does scalene mean, Devin? No congruent sides and no congruent angles. Okay, so if you look at triangle 1 here, triangle 1, what kind of triangle is this? Appear to be by angle. What's that little box down at the bottom mean? It's a right angle, so this is a right triangle. Now, can you tell what the side name of this triangle is? Does it have any of those little tick marks on it? So what? Nothing is congruent, nothing is the same, so this is a scalene triangle. So it is a right scalene triangle. Okay? Triangle number 2. You see these tick marks, that means that these 2 sides are the same, but there's not one here. Now, there's no little square for right. Does it look like it's acute? No, it has an angle that is very much obtuse there. That angle is greater than 90 degrees. Okay? The side name is, it has how many congruent sides? 2, and you have 2 what? So it is a isosceles. There's no penalization for spelling on this. This is not. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, you have it already cut up down here, but what I want to do is I'm going to take a triangle, and you can cut a triangle any way you want to. But what we're going to do is, after I cut it up, I'm going to show you how when I put it together, it forms 180 degrees. Okay, now 180 degrees looks like a what? Mariah? What does 180 degrees look like? It is a straight line, Mariah. Very good. All right, I'm going to cut this triangle up. They put these dashed lines on here, but it really doesn't matter. All I want to do is cut the 3 angles apart. And then I'm going to put them together. And you can put them together really in any order. Here it's done 1, 3, and 2. When I put them together, do you see how along the bottom here the three angles form a straight line? Let me show you what it wouldn't look like. What kind of angle would that be? 90. Like two of the corners of the triangle made 90, but when I put the third in, it made a straight line. It made a 180 degree. It made a straight line, and it is 180 degrees. Okay, so the measure of if let's do a little deductive reasoning. If the measure of angle Q is 90 and the measure of angle R is 30, what is the measure of angle S? Now all of these should add up to how much? 180, right? So all of that added up would make 180. What is 90 plus 30? 120. So what would I need to make it add up to 180? 40? 60. So the measure of angle S is 60. Okay? All right. So let's look at the next triangle, triangle B. All right, so I'm going to take my whole intact triangle B, and I'm going to cut it up. I'll cut it like this. I'm not going to use those dotted lines, okay? So if I take two corners of this triangle and I put them together, greater than or less than 90? Greater than 90. Okay? Is it 180 yet? No. But if I put in the third angle, it's 180. Now what if I do these two? Like that's less than 90, right? Okay? But if I put in a third angle, it's 180. It makes a what? What do the angles form? A straight line. So the sum of all the angles is 180 degrees. So let's do another activity at the bottom. If the measure of angle T is 32 and the measure of angle U is 32, what can we know about this triangle right now? Okay, you add that up together and that equals 64 degrees. But looking at angle T and looking at angle U, can you name this triangle? Can we describe it by its side name? Is it isosceles? Is it scalene, or is it equilateral? Okay, Perla? It's isosceles. Why'd you say that? It had two angles that were the same, and if it has two angles that are the same, then it has two sides that are the same. Okay, so we know this is isosceles. Okay, so what do I do now? I know that two of the angles added together are 64. What should I do to find out the measure of the missing angle? Adriana? Take 180 and subtract 64. Very good. Which is how much? 116 degrees. So now we know it's not only an isosceles triangle, but we know that that third angle is greater than 90, so it's a what isosceles triangle? Obtuse isosceles triangle. Okay. All right, so what I want you to do is number 3 and number 4 on the next page and the problems below it on your own.